Hey guys and gals, Javier here for Hum of the Earth, signing in from Mazatlan, which is sometimes called the Pearl of the Pacific. As the name implies, Mazatlan is a beach town or small city situated in the northern part of Mexico along the Pacific coast. And it was a welcome sight for my eyes. It was the first time being on the coast in Mexico during this trip, bicycling through the country, and it was my first time in the Pacific Ocean. And there were some other firsts as well in Mazatlan. It was my first time seeing other fellow gringos. Although here you probably wouldn't be called a gringo from the locals, at least not to your face, because it's quite a common thing here. This was the first location where I was seeing a lot of Caucasian expats and tourists. Previously I was in northern Mexico, so this made sense. But yeah, this was definitely a different type of place than I had visited previously. And one of those expats was one of the two hosts with whom I would be staying for my time in Mazatlan that I had arranged online. So thanks again to Chris and Fred for hosting me. But it wasn't time to join up with them yet. I still had a few hours before that, so I headed down to the beach, got in the water. It was February at the time, and the water was not necessarily warm, but it was definitely swimmable, and I enjoyed a nice dip in the ocean. And then when I got out, a man approached me who was selling various things, legal and otherwise. I declined, but we still talked for a little bit. And he ended up telling me that everything that he sold, he had to give a percentage of his profits to the cartel, the Sinaloan cartel. Mazatlan is situated in the state of Sinaloa, although which is kind of renowned for cartel activity, Sinaloa being one of the major cartels in Mexico. But Mazatlan is considered to be pretty safe, and I did find it to be throughout my travels, but I did enjoy talking to that man about that subject. Anyways, so after that encounter, it was time to head to the historical center of the city to meet up with my hosts. So the Centro Historico, or historical center, is the oldest and most beautiful part of the city. Now the buildings aren't the buildings that were here when this was a small Spanish town in the 1500s, but some of the buildings are quite old, or at least have been rebuilt or remodeled to resemble their initial appearance, with maybe some extra splashes of color just for aesthetic effect. The historical center is also where you'll find the city's cathedral and a large market where you can buy fresh produce and clothing. And on the second floor you can buy prepared meals and sit down and eat them there. And this is like typical Mexican cuisine, but of the coast, so you can buy fish meals for pretty cheap. But if you're looking for something more upscale or something specific, you can find that in the historical center, which has restaurants that have cuisine from all around the world. It's not exactly New York City, but you can buy Italian food, Indian food, etc. So yeah, the historical center is a pretty cool place that you'll definitely want to visit if you're in Mazatlan. As far as living there, that's up to taste. It is, I'm assuming, one of the more expensive neighborhoods to live in. Maybe there's some more expensive condos along the beach. Um, but yeah, the historical center, you'll see more expats from the US and Canada, so it might also not be the most uh, authentically Mexican part of the city, but is definitely worth visiting. So if you've had a double meal and you're looking to burn off some of those calories, I have a place I can recommend for you. That would be Mazatlan's Malecón, which means boardwalk. Mazatlan has a beautiful and recently renovated boardwalk that stretches the majority of the city along the water. So this is somewhere where you can walk, jog, ride a bicycle, rollerblade, and just get to see the city as well as the ocean and the various beaches. Maybe jump in for a dip when it gets hot. Or if you really want to get a good workout in, you can climb El Faro, which means the lighthouse. This was one of my favorite things to do in Mazatlan. During the early 1900s, El Faro was considered to be the highest natural lighthouse in the world. Natural because it's situated at the top of a seaside cliff, one of the many in Mazatlan. And I've also read that there are divers that will dive from the top of the cliff, again for tourist tips as a type of performance. I didn't see that in person when I was there, but that's what I've heard. And as you start approaching El Faro, you will see the port of Mazatlan, which is the reason why the city exists. This is also the location of the garrison for the city, or where the garrison used to be, and where it had been attacked and successfully conquered a few times in the history of the city. Another significant event that happened here was the famous opera diva named Angela Peralta. Peralta arrived here, but sadly died of yellow fever shortly after arriving in Mazatlan. The legend has it that she sang one last aria from her hotel balcony overlooking the Plazuela Mercado, which still exists today, that building in the historical center. Another fun fact about Mazatlan is that it is home to the Cerveceria del Pacifico, which is a Mexican brand of beer that is kind of regional to the northwestern part of the country. I've tried it myself, the regular and light kind, and I quite like it. If you've been in this part of the country, most likely you've encountered it. It was founded in the year 1900 by German immigrants. So as you might be able to tell from looking at the video, this is the best view of the city. It is definitely worth the hike, and I would say one of the things you have to do if you're visiting Mazatlan. So yeah, I think Mazatlan is definitely a place worth visiting in Mexico, or maybe even living in Mexico. It's not too far from the United States or Canada. The city has a population of 500,000 people. It's not one of the cheapest beach towns in Mexico, but it's not one of the more expensive ones either. Maybe that's because of the fact that it's in the state of Sinaloa, which kind of has a bad reputation. But I think if you're a tourist or an expat, you have next to nothing to worry about. Typically, those are not people that are targeted for crime, because I think they bring a lot of people of money to the economy, and thus criminals wouldn't want to have that kind of heat or attention from the government if they were to do something to harm a tourist or an expat or something like that. So I do think it is a safe city, and I really enjoyed my time there.
Cemented some pretty intense love for Mazatlan. It might be my favorite location on my trip so far, and yeah, definitely the first kind of touristy place I've visited in Mexico so far. So got to you know, speak some English with people, which is nice because my Spanish isn't really all the way there yet. So yeah, definitely touristy for a reason, because it's absolutely beautiful, and definitely feeling the vibe out here. Really cool place to hang out. People are really chill. Yeah, definitely good vibes out here. So if you're not familiar with my kind of journey that is bicycle touring from Canada to Argentina, you can check out my website, followthehumoftheearth.com, to see where I've been and what I've done. So different videos, different posts, etc. And you can, to continue to follow my adventures, you can also subscribe to my channel. Hope you enjoyed. Adios.